All right, this is Bruce, ConvoCourses. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Lost sound for a bit right there, but we're back. I'm going to be talking about how to add cybersecurity wording on your resume, specifically dealing with cybersecurity awareness. How do you know if you have it? What's the wording that you put on it? We're going to be talking a little bit about TikTok. What's my take on what's going on with TikTok as far as security features and should it be banned by the US? It's already been banned in India. My personal thoughts on that. And then we're going to open it up to Q&A. Somebody's asking me about how to get into compliance, and then I've got some other questions that we're going to address. Before I start, you should know that I've released some free courses, more free courses on my course site, which is ConvoCourses.com. There's the free course right there, dealing with how to write your resume, what to put on it, how to word it. This is the free portion, but I'm expanding it out to something that's way more in depth, and it breaks down using CIS controls and NIST controls on how do you know if you have security features, if you already have security experience, and you probably already do, especially if you've been working in IT for a while. And another thing you should know is I've got, if you happen to be into, if you're doing dating online, this is something I actually know a lot about, and I get a lot of people asking me questions on the site, ConvoCourses. Being a security person and having gone through this, I actually created a whole course on how to avoid romance scams, the techniques I use, red flags, things like that. If you're interested, go ahead and check it out on relationship.thinkific.com, and the link will be in the description below once we're done with this live. All right, let's jump into how do you word your experience, your IT security experience. This is specifically for people who have been in IT for some time as help desk, as support, or maybe you've done something totally different, like you've done program management, project management, you've done maybe HR department. How do you know if you've done security or not? Cybersecurity. How can you put that on your resume to start building out your resume for cybersecurity jobs? And the reason why I start talking about this is because this is something that people have asked me about before, and I want to be helpful in this. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So in my expanded course, I actually talk about many of the things that you see here and how you can justify and explain how you've done many of these things. Right now, what we're going to talk about is this other batch of security controls coming from the NIST 853. This is great stuff because the controls that you're seeing here, just let's kind of zoom in on these controls for a second here. I just want to show you something. The controls that you're seeing here really apply to private sector, public sector, banking system, healthcare. Every industry implements some aspect of these controls. They may be named slightly different, but for the most part, these controls cover international controls, PCI controls, dealing with credit card transactions. Almost every organization you can think of uses many of these controls you're seeing here, from access controls to system and service acquisition controls. Another thing I want to bring up here is that a lot of times when you think of security, people think of a hacker or using Linux to like do a command line to break into some system, or implementing firewalls or IPSs or IDSs or something like that. But they don't typically think of something like awareness and training. They might not think of something like contingency planning or maintenance or physical security, personnel security. They might not think of system and service acquisition. These are all part of the whole spectrum of cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is huge and it's broken into many different subcategories. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with cybersecurity. I get lots of questions of people saying, how can I get into cybersecurity? And one of my first questions is kind of like, well, where are you coming from and where are you trying to go to? Because there's many different, what kind of security do you want to do? So I'll say, hey, let me see your resume. Let me see what you got. And then I can guide them in the right direction of where of what's the best place for them to go to. And this is something I do for people who actually purchase the course. Anyway, so let's get into this one right here. I just want to take something that's not typically associated with security, and I want to explain it to you. These are the security controls that we're discussing. This one right here, I'm just going to run you through a few of these. This first one, AT1, deals with, does your organization have a policy in place that forces all users to go through some sort of security awareness training? Meaning, when you get on our network, here's the things you can do and here's what you can't do. If you are on our network and you see a phishing, a suspicious email, how do you respond? What do you do? The training teaches people things like that. That's the kind of stuff that it walks you through. I guarantee you, if you've worked for a large company, you have done this before. And so now I'm going to tell you how to word that on your resume. But first of all, let me tell you a couple of other ones. Security awareness training. Have you been through security awareness training? Does your organization put the employees through security awareness training? And then lastly, do you have role-based security training? Meaning, it's not good enough to just have a general blanket security awareness, like how do you deal with phishing, or what do you do if somebody tries to piggyback on you when you're going through, when you've badged in and somebody tries to sneak in, what do you do? No, role-based training deals specifically with, you have a job as a firewall person. You should have specific training for that. Your organization should have specific training for, okay, this guy's a new firewall person. What do they do? What are some of the security things that they can and can't do? And what do they do if they see this port open? What do they do? So you need to have training for different levels of the roles, all the roles that you have in your organization, especially if they touch a computer, especially if they're a privileged user. So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. Now, how do you put this on your resume? Let's say you're like, Bruce, I've done this before. How do I put this on your resume? So I'm going to show you how. All right, so what I have broken down is, whenever you do your resume, you should have an action, and you should have an impact, and you should have keywords. All the items that are in yellow are keywords. Let me just move my face real quick. So that's what you're looking at here. The action is talking about, of course, what did you do? What tasks did you do? And then the impact is, what was the impact to the organization after you did that task? And that makes a more powerful statement when you put it down on paper, when you put it on your resume. Now, how do you know if you've ever done security awareness training? Well, if you've ever actually went through security awareness training, then yes, you could put this on your resume, and I'm going to show you how. If you've ever taught security awareness at your organization or at any organization, that is also something you can put on your resume. And then there's a couple of other things that you can put on your resume. But let's talk about this first one. Have you ever done security awareness? Okay. So here, what I did was, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. What we've done here is we've articulated what we actually did at the organization. We said we took 15 hours of security awareness training to include, but not limited to, insider threat training, incident handling training, anti-phishing training, and security policy training. Let's just put training here. What was the impact? Proved knowledgeable during an IG inspection. So we're saying, hey, we're a valuable asset because there was an audit and somebody asked us the question, and we were ready. Maybe they didn't even ask us a question, but we were ready to answer those questions because we've taken 15 hours of training. Now, how can we say, now let's say you actually assisted in training, like in actual teaching security. So this is definitely something you want to put on your resume. How do you word this? So the way I worded it is assisted in the creation of the organizations. You want to put the name of the organization, by the way, if it's IBM or whoever. I'm just coming up with stuff here. But IBM's anti-phishing training. You actually created it. This is a big deal because you're actually writing documentation. This is something that security risk management people do all the time. Security engineers do this. This is a cybersecurity action that you normally take. And what was the impact? Organization uses this document for all future users. So now that you've created this, all future users are actually using something that you wrote. That's something you definitely want to put on your resume, and that is a security. That's something that a security person, when they're reading your resume, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this guy right here has done this before. And here's the keywords: security awareness training, incident handling, all the things that you've done as far as security. You want to put that stuff on your resume. So there you go. I will open this up to questions, but right now, well, actually, let me make sure that I'm actually I've got people on here. We've got about 7 people watching. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I'll be monitoring that real soon. Let me actually just see if I can see the actual questions here. I don't know how many times I gotta say actually, but now that I've said it 100 times, you're gonna be looking for me to say actually over and over again. Where is I've got this new feature that I'm doing here where I'm broadcasting on I haven't done this in a while, but broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook, so just bear with me. I'm looking for my live so I can see you guys' comments, if any. And okay, here it is right here. Make sure I don't have a double voice going on. Okay, there it is. And I really got to get more prepared on this stuff. But yeah, here it is right here. And okay, I see some people here. No sound. We can hear you now. Okay, good. All right, good. All right, I'm gonna keep going while people are watching. Sound's working. Everything's good. Okay. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is what's going on with TikTok. What is going on with TikTok? So that is a good question. I don't know if you guys, you guys know what's going on with TikTok? So I'll just give you a quick synopsis. So TikTok used to be called Musical.ly, and it's like a short form video social media platform, and it's very similar to Vines if you are familiar with that. It had like 7-second videos. You post them, and then you got to be super creative. And a lot of times with TikTok, what they're doing is they're singing. It's like they're doing these voiceover type things, and it's really popular with Gen Z, with like my kids, and the kids really love it. It's huge. But anyway, so Musical.ly was bought by this company called ByteDance, which was in Hong Kong. That's an important piece of this story. ByteDance is now they renamed it TikTok, and they rebranded it, and it's now one of the largest video platforms, really one of the largest social media platforms on the internet right now. It's huge. But what's happened is people are concerned because it's a Chinese company that China has a back door or can just extract any information from any company that it owns. The ownership of a company in the US is different from the ownership of a company in China, in that China can just come in and say, we want all this data. And in that way, it's also similar, which I'll talk about, to the US. There's some differences though. Okay, so here's the issue. If a company is subject to Chinese law, and that they can just say, hey, give us all the information on Bruce Brown, all that, and we want all of it, because we want to know where Bruce Brown lives. We want to know what's going on with Bruce Brown. He said some stuff about the CCP. We're not happy with it. We need to go talk to him. Give us all of his information. So a Chinese company is obligated to give that information to the government. Now what's happened is, whenever people have come up and said, hey, ByteDance, people who own TikTok, why should anybody use your product if we know privacy is a concern? And ByteDance's response in the past has been, we don't give our information to the Chinese government. We're in Hong Kong. We don't give our information, our users' information, period. We don't. We're safe. They have a CEO of a U.S. Citizen CEO who used to be the CEO of Walt Disney or something like that. And he's the one saying no, privacy is not an issue. But now, since China recently basically took over Hong Kong, now they can no longer say that we are not going to give our information to China, because China literally wrote in a law, a national security law, stating that yea, verily, anybody, any company, any person, any citizen is completely subject to the laws of mainland China, of Beijing, and that's it. That's the end of it. TikTok's response has been recently, like as of 2 days ago, moved out of Hong Kong, and that's all the information I have so far. We don't know what country they're going to. We don't know which jurisdiction or which country they're going to be underneath now, or if they even can move all their data and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air. But the question remains: is the U.S. going to ban TikTok just like India just did? India, having some skirmishes with China, has opted to ban all, not just TikTok, but any and all applications from China. For that, their reasoning is privacy. Should the U.S. do it too? My personal opinion is, as a security person, I don't use TikTok because of those reasons. I personally don't. I do too many. There's too much stuff relying on me. I can't afford to use an app that has security issues, privacy issues and things like that. So I have not downloaded it on any of my main phones. I think I played with it on a spare phone I had that had no information on it, and I was messing around with that. But my main phone, where it can access my contacts and stuff like that, I personally don't do it for those, because I've been following along with what's going on with it since the beginning, when it was bought when Musical.ly was bought. That being said, there's two arguments on this. So one argument is like, absolutely, that's exactly what the U.S. should do. Ban Chinese apps. China is a bad actor. They steal intellectual property on a regular basis. They're too draconian. They're communists. They're gonna take your information. They're gonna do whatever they want with it. So yes, ban China. China bad. Period. Then the other field, on the other end of the spectrum, people are saying, well, no. Why would you ban China for this? China. Why would you ban Chinese apps for this when Google, Facebook, Twitter, they all pretty much do the same thing? They grab your information, and then they're pretty frivolous with your information. So why are you okay with U.S. doing this with the Patriot Act, and you're not okay with the Chinese doing the same thing for their country? So no, leave it be. Let me put my stuff out there. It's freedom of speech. I should be able to put my information wherever I want, and don't ban it, right? So on one side, ban it. On the other side, don't ban it. Me, I don't think that they should ban it. I think they should educate people and say, listen, put stuff out there at your own risk. And honestly, I think they have a point. Like, Google and Facebook and all these other guys are subject to a national security law, which states that if the U.S. government thinks that you're a terrorist, right, then they can just take your information. They can go contact Google or Facebook or whoever and say, listen, this guy's a terrorist. We want his information now. He's under investigation. We want his information right now. The U.S. government can do the same thing. The difference is this. There is a difference between the Chinese government and the U.S. government. Chinese government will take your information if you say something bad about President Xi. President Xi, if you say anything bad about him, call him Winnie the Pooh. If you say something bad about their government, the CCP, you say something they don't like about the Chinese mainlanders, any of that stuff can get you put in jail. And so U.S., First Amendment, freedom of speech. You can talk all day. People make a whole career out of talking mess about President Trump, about the current administration, whichever one that is. You can talk. You can say anything you want. You're not going to be locked up for saying something bad about President Trump or about about the Trump administration or about the U.S. government or about the United States in general. There's people who have a whole channel about talking crap about burning the flag, you know, whatever. It's the freedom of speech. So that's why I'm okay with putting my stuff on Facebook and Google, but I personally don't even put my actual real personal information on my personally identifiable information. I personally don't put it on Facebook or Google or Twitter. I use aliases. I never use my real first last name. I don't use, I mean, the only thing to get out of me is maybe my phone number, and that is something that I'm very even hesitant to do. And sometimes I'll use a business phone or a separate, or create a phone number and then use that sometimes. So that's my 2 cents on it. What do you guys think out there? Do you think that TikTok should be banned? If so, why? If you think that it should not be banned, why? Why not? I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. All right, next, let me see if I got any questions. I think I had some recently, some really good ones that I want to bring up. And I also have some folks that are, first I'll address these questions. Okay. Got about 10 people watching. Got Maya J, how you doing? I got Eric, how you doing, sir? Kanisha, how you doing? And I got some questions here. Let me see. Maya J says, I posted this on another video of yours, but I'll post it here. Okay, you have a question. All right. Oh yeah, I was just about to answer your question. I saw that on the. You said that you have 14 years of experience. You got a PMP, you got IT PMP or IT PM, program manager. You got PMP. Oh, that's a good one. You got Agile Certified PMP ACP. That's good. You got 14 years of experience. I want to transition into computer science, compliance space. Do you mean CS, computer science, or computer or cybersecurity? Which one? Compliance space in the private sector. Should I pursue a CISSP? And what other search do you recommend? Okay, this is a good question. So Maya J wants to know, coming from a PMP, a professional IT PMP program manager for 14 years, and wants to transition into cybersecurity, specifically for compliance in the private sector, and what should I pursue? What certifications do you recommend? Okay, Maya J, let me see. What would I do if I was a program manager and I wanted to go deeper? I had a friend of mine at my last job, was also a program manager, had a PMP, and was also wanting to do cybersecurity in particular. For stability, there's a increase in pay provided that you specialize. So there's a lot of different reasons why he wanted to transition. So the very first, and then he asked me, and then he asks people on the team. He would ask, any kind of questions that he had, he would come to us and ask. And what we advised him to do was start with the Comptia certifications. And I would not recommend going straight to a CISSP. It's very difficult. And it's kind of convoluted if you don't. It's convoluted, period, really. But if you don't know the common body of knowledge, if you're not familiar with it, that goes into cybersecurity, then it's not going to make any sense. It's just not going to make any sense. So I would start from the bottom, from a cybersecurity perspective, is what I would do if I was you. And luckily you actually have a really good start because you've had exposure to security and IT for a long time. So that works in your favor. So what I would do first, and I think you mentioned it here, you said, I'm currently studying for the Security Plus certification for foundational knowledge. Exactly. Because think about your career field, your career path. If I'm a cybersecurity person and I want to go into PMP, what would you recommend that I start off with? Like where should I start if I want to go become a program manager? Where would you recommend that I start? So for me, I would recommend you go to Comptia and you start with probably Security Plus or Network Plus. Like depending on if you really don't know anything about IT, then I would start with A Plus and Network Plus. If you have a pretty good solid understanding and you can hook up your home network in your house, you already know what IP addresses are, you know how to do subnet masks, you know the basics of hardware and software and how to secure them, then yeah, you can probably just go straight to a Security Plus. If you really don't know anything, I would start with A Plus and Network Plus to try to ramp up your knowledge. But yeah, you want to do that foundational knowledge on security. You could start with security. You could do Security Plus and know that common body of knowledge. And then as you go, if you have any questions on networking, make a side trip, a side journey into networking and learn it. You could totally do that. Because with Security Plus, you don't have to be super deep in networking. You don't have to be super deep in A Plus, which A Plus is like breaking, fixing and breaking hardware and software. It's the components in an actual computer or a server. So that's what that's all about. But yeah, that's a good start. I would say start with the Security Plus, and then from the Security Plus, if you want to do compliance, you've got a couple of options. One is called the CAP course. A CAP is specifically for compliance. So let me show you what I'm talking about. There's actually a couple of compliance type certifications. I'm going to show you a couple of them. One is the one I have that focuses on the NIST, and the NIST is dealing with mostly governments. So you're going to be doing a lot of government work if you do this CAP course. So here's one that you could take. It's a step below, a significant step below the CISSP, but it focuses on just compliance. Another one you could do, I think these guys may have a compliance certification. Let me see. I'm looking for compliance. I think CASP has compliance stuff in it. Security Plus definitely has compliance stuff in it. So this is another route you could go after you do the Security Plus. I think they expect you to have a certain amount of years done to get the CASP Plus. But let me show you something else. SANS has a compliance certification too, and I want you to see that one too. I don't want to just talk about Comptia and ISC2 squared. So here's SANS right here. SANS has some of the best courses if you really want to know what you're doing. I found with SANS courses and SANS certifications is that I'm trying to look for their certifications here. I don't have a cert, but having worked with people who have the SANS cert and having been in a lot of different jobs and roles where I'm working right side by side with people with a CISP, a Security Plus, and then somebody who has SANS courses, what I found is even though the SANS courses aren't as marketable for whatever reason, it's just because our market is too ignorant to know how awesome this certification is. The SANS people who do these SANS courses really know what the hell they're doing. Like, I found that it's not just window dressing. This is a hardcore certification, and it really trains people to know hands-on what you're doing. And I'm looking for the actual compliance certification because I know they have one. Let me see. This might be. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. This, I know they have one. I'm trying to think about it. If you guys know what it is, tell me in the. Is this it? No, it's project manager. See, they even have a project manager one. PMP. Effective community. Okay. I'm looking. I know they have one. Is this it? GSE? No, this is not. This is not it. Don't think that's it. Anyway, I know that they have. There's different options after you do the Security Plus. You've got a GIAC certification that focuses on compliance. You've got the CASP. You've got the CAP. All of those would be a good step up. And then finally, when you got 5 years under your belt of actual security experience, or if you've been in for a while, like maybe 2-3 years of just solid IT security, then go ahead and take the CISSP, but you may not even need it if you take the CASP, to be honest with you. I hope that answers your question. All right, I do have 7 years in experience doing in governance, risk compliance within the IT. Oh, okay, that's really good. That's really good to have. You should put that on your resume. You could probably get, once you get the Security Plus, since you have so much experience already, you can okay, having that extra 7 years experience, what I would do after you get the Security Plus, I would either go get the CAP or I'd get the CASP. I'd do one of those. And the reason why I would do that is because the CAP specifically says I have NIST experience. NIST is huge with governance, risk, and compliance. This CASP is very marketable to where you probably won't even need the CISSP. So that's what I would recommend you do. All right, I got some other questions here. I'm gonna dig up from my comments, and I see your question, Maya J. I do see that. I'm just going to go ahead and heart that. Other questions. Okay, somebody's asking about how to identify scammer profile. Okay, I did this video years ago about how to actually, if you're doing dating sites, how to identify scammers immediately using a reverse image search on their profile. And this guy asks me, hey man, what if their picture they show you privately aren't out there, but they still ask for money? If they're asking for money on a dating site, I wouldn't mess with them at all, because you don't know them, and you're not there to do charity. You know, there's other places you can go and do charity. Dating sites not one of them. So if you just met them and you're already giving them money, that's a red flag. Still a scam? Question mark. But the video and pictures don't look like she would sound in one of the videos. Nothing like the woman on the phone. Are African women accents just a clear warning sign that she's a scammer? No, absolutely not. That's not a red flag. Just because a person has a certain accent, it's not a flag at all. Why would an African woman want me? And they want a real dude their own race, right? The thing is, they ask for cash is a red flag. Yeah. Okay, so here's a couple of things, and I'll keep this brief. Number one, if you are interested in learning more about this, because I do get people asking me about it, I got 2 courses on relationship.thinkific.com. One is about how I avoid romance scammers by using a simple technique. Very simple, but it really does work. And I'll walk you through exactly how to do that. So that's one thing that you can do. Another one, if you're interested, is a full-blown course about the mindset it takes to find the right one. I've been married since 2014, and I met my wife off of dating sites, and it's been a real blessing in my life. So I just want to share what I know, and that's what this is all about. Online dating success breaks down like what to do, how to find the best one, how to filter out scammers and users and others to find the love of your life. So relationship.com. Okay, let me get back to the actual question here. He's got a few questions. Number one, he's asking, he's done the reverse image search and he can't find those images. Okay, number one, I would use any pictures that they give to you, not just one, not just the profile picture. Use other pictures that they send to you, and you can even take screenshots from the video and make that one and do a reverse search on that. Number one. Let's say you do that and you still can't find images online, so it looks legit. They might just be a user, or they might be a gold digger or something like that, right? They might just be trying to get money off of you, and they're a real person, but they're just trying to get money. Number one, if they're asking for money, right, you guys aren't boyfriend, girlfriend, You guys just met. You guys have been talking for 3 weeks, and this person's asking you for money. That's a red flag. I would move on. I would move on. Like I said, this is not a charity. Let me see. He said the person did video. Okay, well, that's a good sign. That means it's a real person. They don't particularly match the voice of who's on there, and that's why you just gotta take time on that one. And then is it just because the person has an African accent doesn't mean it's a scam? I mean, that's obviously, I would say it's obviously not a red flag. And why would an African woman want me? And I think he's saying that because he's a white dude. And honestly, all over the world, you can find people who want you, want how you, they like how you look. They prefer in some cases that you look this way or you look that way. So that's really not necessarily a red flag. There's some places a white guy's going to go in Africa and he's going to be preferred. Like these women are going to be looking for this dude. And there's some places in different parts of the world that they want a person who looks like you, who talks like you. It's a real thing. Is a real thing. So I would not say that would be a justification of why they want you. But I would say like the red flag is in already asking for cash. That's a huge red flag. Like if you've been talking to this person for 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, and you guys are this is your fiance, or you guys are girlfriend, boyfriend, you've met in person, then and she's asking for cash, okay, that's different. But if you just met this person, you guys haven't met in person, you guys have been talking for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, 2 months, and they're already asking for money because they have this, my grandma's in hospital and she needs to get out and I need $200, I need $30 to fill my load on my phone. Those are all common scams that they use. So I hope that answers your question, JD. I'm gonna move on to the next question. Let me see, trying to look for some decent questions. Already answered Maya J's question. I thought I had another good question here. Looks like I got another question about dating. That's a pretty popular video that I made years and years ago. And I think that's it. I don't think I have any more questions. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna hang this thing up. There's not a lot of questions here. Let me just scan one more time. Eric says, can you walk us through the selection of security controls of risk management framework since you touched based on controls? Okay, can you walk us through selection of security controls in the risk management framework? Yes, I could totally do that. All right, so first of all, let me here I am on NIST's website here. I'm gonna make this straight to the point and quick. What I'm gonna do is bring up the risk management framework wheel here. Risk management framework compliance. I want you to get a visual of what this process is all about. So here is an image of the process right here that I want to show you. Just randomly got this off the internet, but that's the process right there, right? So what is this process? Risk management framework. First of all, bird's eye view of what risk management framework is. It is managing the level of negative impact to your organization by applying security controls. Security control would be like making sure there's a username and password, making sure the password is 12 characters long with up and down, lower and uppercase, and numbers and special characters. Those are security controls, but there's hundreds of other ones. So his question is, how do you know which controls to put on this specific system, right? So the way that you do that is really with this first step. See the first step right here? This categorize the system. The very first thing you're going to do is categorize the system. And when you say categorize the system, what you mean is find the security category of the system. So there's 3 different categories of systems. You've got a low, a moderate, and a high. So low means that a low categorization, security categorization, means that, give you an example, it could be like a web server. You have airforce.com, airforce.gov has a website that basically it's a recruiting channel. It's a site that tells you about the Air Force, where to sign up. It doesn't have super important information. It's not like the Secretary of the Air Force is putting announcements on there, or there's classified information on. None of that. It's just a website that promotes the Air Force, and it's a recruiting mechanism. And that's it. If that site goes down, what is the impact to the Air Force? Minimal, right? If the site goes down, they probably have, first off, they have a second one that comes up automatically. If it gets hacked and somebody takes it down and puts some stuff on it, it's a minor embarrassment. Air Force take it down, put a new one back up. There's no critical information on there. If it gets hacked and somebody steals information, it's no big deal. They just blank that one out, bring up the backup server. It's cool. It may take them 3 days to get the new site up, but it's not going to be a large impact on the organization. Medium, or quote unquote moderate or medium level of category is different. So we talked about low, now we're at medium. Medium risk means that if my system goes down, well, let me give you a specific example. I think that's the best way to explain it. A medium system would be like a leave and earning statement system, like a system that has a database that handles checks, and that is important. That's not a website, right? If this goes down on payday, how are we supposed to know which soldiers were paid and which airmen weren't? Like that is very important. Like maybe the checks still go out, but they have wrong information on it. That is important. So that is what you would call a moderate impact system, meaning medium or moderate impact system. So if that system goes down, we need to get it up within the next 24 hours. It's not no 3 days. There's actual critical information. There's PII on there. That's personally identifiable information. There's social security numbers on there. There's all kinds of stuff on there that's very important. So that system, that database is very important, is not very important, but it's important enough to where our soldiers or airmen won't get paid. We won't know. It'll be screwed up. We got to go to the backup system, right? Last one is high. A high impact system means that if this system goes down, somebody might lose their life. A good example of this might be if you had a system that tracked the movements of the enemy. You've got soldiers on the ground in an undisclosed location, and they have a system. Maybe they have like a little system that tells them where the enemy is and where aircraft is and stuff like that. And that system can save their life. And that system goes down. So that's a real-time operation. Literally, the lives are on the line. And let's even take a step further and say that there's actual classified information on that system, because it's showing troop locations, troop movements, how much you know about the enemy, all that stuff. That goes down. It needs to come back up immediately so people don't die. Or worse, even as bad as it would be, like the system is compromised, they steal a bunch of information. Now they know where all the troops throughout the whole area of operation are, and now they can target and pick and choose where they want to, which troops they want to take out. So that's, in a way, that's worse. I mean, how do we know what controls to put on these 3 types of systems? Let me show you real quick. So I'm going to go to NIST 800, and I'm going to show you what I was talking about, if it ever comes up. This is pretty slow. Okay, here we go. Right, so this is not the right, okay, here, yep, this is it. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me just move this over a bit right here, and I'm gonna very briefly get my head out of here. Give me a second. There we go. Oops. There. Alright, so check this out. You see this right here? Low, moderate, high. Now I kept mixing up medium and moderate, but what I meant was moderate. That's anyway, low, moderate, high. This is how you determine what security controls to put on there. So let's say we were on our website, our Air Force website. This will tell us all the low controls we need for AC controls, that's access control, AT controls, which we talked about earlier, security awareness, and then AU controls, which deals with auditing, like logging and stuff like that, event logs, audit logs. Then you've got tons of other controls here, but all these controls would apply to that Air Force low level web server. Now let's go to our earning statement paycheck system. So these controls are different. Like there's way more controls here on this one, as you can see, than there are on the low. The low is going to have way less controls. And then the high, that system that we talked about where it's watching opposition troop movements, is going to have even more controls and even more what you call them, these are additional controls. Like not only do you need to do the account management, but it's going to go even more in detail about what you need to do. Now let's click on one real quick. So it breaks every single one of the controls down, like what control enhancements, that's what they're called. All these things you need to do. So it's way more stuff in high. So to answer your question, the very first thing you need to do is categorize, security categorization. Once you do that, you have a baseline of security controls to use. Then there's another step that you have to do, and that's called tailoring. Tailoring means, like, let's say that Air Force system, for example. Let's say the Air Force system is controlled by the Air Force Training Department. I'm making that up. The Air Force Training Department has a facility that has wireless in their building. So now the Air Force training facility has to protect everything on that web server, but they also need an extra controls because they have wireless. You know, so that tells you that they need to have additional controls on wireless. So let me just show you what I mean here, if you can still see my screen. So let's go back here. Let me just show you some wireless control. Wireless controls, low impact does have wireless controls. Wireless controls would be -18, I believe. -18. There's a couple of wireless controls. Let's just wireless. There it is. AC18. I got part of it right. So when we're tailoring the controls, we are putting controls in that match the environment that the system is in. So in our example of the Air Force website that's inside of an Air Force training department, training facility, they also need to do AC18. But let's say our moderate impact system, leaving earning statements, this one that's printing out checks for soldiers, sailors, and airmen, it's pretty important, but its moderate impact goes down. We just need to get it back up within the next 24 hours, and we need to get these checks sorted out. So it is important, but it's not, people aren't going to lose their lives. They're going to have a temporarily late check. But let's say the facility that houses this does not have wireless. So you would tailor out that control. Tailor means, just like the word implies, you are fitting the controls based on the environment and the system's configuration. So those are the two ways that you select controls. Number one, categorization, security categorization. Number two, tailoring the controls. You're going to tailor out some things and you're going to tailor in things depending on the fit of the system that you're doing. So I hope that answers your question. That was about the quickest way that I could explain it. It's probably kind of long-winded, but that is it. And I'm looking for more questions here. Let me see if there's anybody else here before I let you guys go. This new format, I swear, I gotta get used to this. So what I'm doing is I'm broadcasting on Facebook at the same time I'm doing this. So I've got all these windows and stuff open. I gotta get used to this. So I'm like losing stuff. But I might have closed it. Let me see. But while I'm looking for this, I'd like to say thank you guys for the purchases. Thank you guys for the kind words. Appreciate everybody who watches this on a regular basis. And I do this to help people out and help to get more people in our career field, because we definitely need more people. We always need more people. And if we can get more people like you guys out there who are hungry to get more information, then that really helps out our whole field. So yeah, this is something I do for fun and profit. So again, if you guys are interested in knowing more, you can go to ConvoCourses. Tons of free courses out there that you can learn more about cybersecurity, learn about information system security officer work, learn how to make up to 6 figures in this field, learn how to work remotely, not just for IT, by the way. The techniques that I use there will help you in any field, because it's pretty open in the way that it works. And that is it. Thank you so much to Maya J. Thank you, Eric, for your question. And thanks everybody else for watching. Appreciate you guys. I will see you